In 1492, Pope Innocent VIII was dying, and according to a story that has persisted for over 5 centuries, his physician drained the blood of 3 10-year-old boys and attempted to transfer it into the dying pontiff. All 4 of them died. The church never officially acknowledged it happened, and the doctor fled Rome in the middle of the night. This is the bizarre, disturbing legend of Pope Innocent VIII and what some have called the first blood transfusion in history, except it almost certainly never happened. And the real story behind the myth is, in many ways, more unsettling than the legend itself. This rumored procedure, preserved in a single hostile chronicle, supposedly involved draining the donor's veins to feed the failing pope. Over the centuries, medical historians seized on this account, labeling it the earliest attempt at a blood transfusion. But this narrative rests on a foundation of shadow. No official Vatican records confirm the event, and the identity of the mysterious physician remains entirely unverified, leaving no trace in the diplomatic correspondence of the era. Instead of a pioneering medical experiment, modern historical consensus shows the claim is a complete fabrication, a dark fable born of Renaissance politics, medical ignorance, and entrenched terror. Giovanni Battista Cybo was born in Genoa on November 5, 1432. Long before taking holy orders, he fathered at least 2 illegitimate children, Franceschetto and Teodorina. Later, hostile accounts inflated his reputation, claiming he fathered 7 or even 16 children, painting him as a figure of excessive worldly indulgence. Cybo broke with established papal custom by openly legitimizing his offspring, making their advancement a central goal of his career. In 1487, he secured a major political alliance by marrying his son Franceschetto to Maddalena de' Medici, the daughter of Lorenzo the Magnificent. This arrangement tied the banking wealth of Florence directly to the spiritual authority of the papacy, transforming holy offices into family assets. In return, Lorenzo's 13-year-old son, Giovanni de' Medici, received a cardinal's hat, positioning the young boy to one day become Pope Leo X. Through these calculated arrangements, Cybo established a pattern of financial transactions and family advancement that defined his rule. Cybo's election on August 29, 1484, formalized a papacy driven by fiscal desperation and raw political leverage. The new pope inherited a bankrupt treasury, turning the Holy Office into a marketplace for selling administrative positions and securing high-profile hostages. His son, Franceschetto Cybo, ran up massive debts to feed a severe gambling addiction. In the summer of 1488, when a false rumor of the Pope's death swept through Rome, Franceschetto immediately tried to seize the papal treasury before rival factions could react. Yet the most lucrative asset of Innocent's pontificate was Prince Cem Sultan, the captive brother of the Ottoman Sultan. The Pope kept the prince confined in the Castel Sant'Angelo, converting a royal refugee into a bargaining chip. Constantinople paid the Vatican an annual stipend of 45,000 ducats to ensure Cem remained under guard, preventing him from uniting rival Christian armies. In this court, spiritual authority was traded for cold, hard cash, and trust was as fragile as the health of the Pope himself. In December 1484, Innocent VIII issued the papal bull Summis Desiderantes Affectibus, translating to "desiring with supreme ardor." This decree formally recognized witchcraft and expanded inquisitorial authority to hunt suspects across German lands. The driving force behind this mandate was the Dominican inquisitor Heinrich Kramer, who sought Vatican backing after a local bishop shut down his failed trials in Innsbruck. Armed with this new decree, Kramer co-authored the notorious Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, in 1487. Kramer claimed the book carried full papal endorsement, a misleading assertion since the Church officially condemned the treatise in 1490 for violating doctrinal limits. Though condemned, secular courts seized upon the manual, transforming theological paranoia into legal precedent. Over the next 250 years, the machinery of fear set in motion by this papal authority resulted in approximately 110,000 witchcraft trials and the execution of 40,000 to 60,000 victims, predominantly women. This institutionalized terror remained a defining shadow of his pontificate, proving how easily centralized power could normalize extraordinary accusations. In 1488, Innocent VIII suffered a stroke that began his long physical decline. By early 1492, a contemporary observer described the dying pontiff as an inert mass of flesh, sustained only by a few drops of milk from a young woman's breast. To treat him, court physicians relied on the ancient teachings of Galen, a system that had dominated European medicine for 1,500 years. In this medieval worldview, blood was believed to be made in the liver from digested food rather than circulating through the body. Veins and arteries were understood as separate, unconnected systems, meaning there was no concept of circulation. Instead, health was governed by the balance of the four humors, and bloodletting was the standard therapy. Doctors opened veins to drain excess fluid out of the body rather than introducing it. In this era, the very concept of a blood transfusion was completely alien to science. The legend claims a physician drained the blood of 3 10-year-old boys in a desperate attempt to save the dying pope. Yet in 1492, transferring blood from one person to another had no scientific, anatomical, or physical basis. The fundamental mechanics of human biology remained completely undiscovered. Systemic blood circulation was not described until 1628, when William Harvey published his findings on how blood moves through the body. The milestones of actually transferring blood between living creatures lay nearly 2 centuries in the future. Richard Lower achieved the first successful dog-to-dog transfusion in 1665, and Jean-Baptiste Denis carried out the first recorded human transfusion in 1667, introducing sheep's blood into a 15-year-old patient. This rumored 1492 procedure was a physical and medical impossibility within the knowledge system of the time, entirely separate from the genuine clinical breakthroughs of later centuries. The entire legend traces back to a single source, the Roman chronicler Stefano Infessura. A jurist and secretary of the Roman Senate, Infessura harbored a bitter hostility toward the papacy, driven by his fierce loyalty to the rival Colonna family. His private diary is the sole origin of the transfusion story. The Catholic Encyclopedia later characterized his writing as recording every fragment of the most preposterous and malevolent gossip current in Roman society. Infessura claimed a Jewish physician proposed the procedure and that 3 10-year-old boys were purchased for 1 ducat each, only to die during the attempt. Yet, official Vatican death registers, diplomatic dispatches, and papal necrologies from July 1492 contain no mention of any blood therapy, nor any record of dying children. No eyewitness ever corroborated the tale, revealing that this famous medical milestone began as partisan political slander. The rumor found fertile ground in Europe's deeply entrenched blood libel tradition, which falsely accused Jewish communities of harvesting Christian blood. The most powerful precedent was the 1475 Simon of Trent case, a manufactured trial that weaponized these prejudices across Italy. Infessura's slander adapted this familiar anti-Semitic propaganda, though later retellings mutated the mechanics, shifting the tale from the Pope drinking the blood to receiving it intravenously. Amid these growing myths, the historical Innocent VIII reached his end. On July 25, 1492, the Pope died, after specifically asking his cardinals to forgive him and elect a better successor. His physician Giacomo di San Genesio remained an ambiguous figure whose subsequent departure from Rome fueled later rumors of flight. Meanwhile, Rodrigo Borgia became Pope Alexander VI. Innocent was buried in St. Peter's on August 5, 1492. His tomb inscription celebrated the discovery of a new world, forever linking his controversial pontificate directly to Christopher Columbus, who sailed just days after his death. 5 centuries later, this dark legend still shadows the papacy. It persists because we eagerly consume sensational horrors over complex histories. When power, desperation, and prejudice collide, we believe the monsters we create. What does this myth reveal to you? Share your thoughts below.